The rain hadn't let up for hours. It clung to my hoodie, soaked through my socks, and turned the brown paper grocery bag into a sagging mess. I climbed the stairs to my third-floor apartment with aching calves, balanced the bag on my knee, and fumbled for my keys, with fingers still numb from the cold. Inside, the light buzzed faintly, flickering like it might give up too. I dropped the bag on the counter, peeled off my wet shoes, and exhaled for what felt like the first time all day. 9 hours, 47 stops. One soggy burrito scarfed down in a gas station lot, and all I had to show for it was a crumpled $9 tip and a back that felt twice its age. This was the life my family believed I never moved past. Clara, the errand girl, the delivery dropout, the one who stayed behind when everyone else moved up. My phone buzzed, one new message, Noah. Still hustling like a loser. Don't forget Mom's birthday dinner, Saturday at 6, and maybe try not to look so tired this time. I stared at the screen thumb hovering over the reply button. Then I locked it and tossed it face down on the couch. No response was better than the one I wanted to send. They thought they knew who I was. That I was still scraping by, dragging grocery bags through the rain. One sad delivery at a time. What they didn't know was that every order I completed, every late-night shift, every coupon I pretended to need it, was all part of something far bigger. But they'd find out soon enough. Just not for me. I wasn't always the girl with rain in her shoes and receipts stuffed in her coat pocket. Once I had plans, I was halfway through college when Dad collapsed in the kitchen. Stroke sudden, cruel, and final in its own way. The hospital bills came fast. Mom fell apart faster, and Noah. He had already packed for New York before the ambulance left the driveway. You've always been the dependable one, Clara. Mom said, hands trembling over the sink. He's got his whole future ahead of him. So I stayed. I dropped out before the spring semester even started. Took a job shelving overnight at a discount store. Then mornings wiping tables at the diner. We sold the house 6 months later. Dad couldn't walk, couldn't talk, and Mom cried in the shower most nights thinking I didn't hear Noah never came back. Not for Dad's second stroke. Not for the nursing home transfer. Not even for his funeral. But he sent flowers, white ones, and a group chat message that said, "Wish I could be there. Startups in a critical stage. Love you guys?" He was always in a critical stage. Every time he raised money, we knew. Not because he called, but because he posted screenshots in the family chat. All champagne flutes and rooftop parties. I'd read those texts on my 15-minute breaks, wiping sweat from my forehead with the same apron I'd worn 3 years too long. He called me grounded. What he meant was stuck. But I wasn't. Not really. I was building something too. Just not the kind that looked good in Instagram stories. Not yet. The restaurant was one of those sleek, dimly lit places with white tablecloths and cocktails named after obscure jazz musicians. I parked 2 blocks away to avoid valet. Didn't want them judging the scratched-up Civic. I still drove on purpose. Inside, the host barely glanced at me before asking if I was with the Jensen party. I nodded, brushing off the cold air and adjusting the same jacket I'd worn on my last shift. Noah was already there. He stood by the bar, one hand casually resting on the shoulder of his rented Porsche's key fob, like it was a trophy. My mother beamed beside him, her voice lilting with wine and pride. "Noah just flew in this morning. Can you believe it? Straight from a pitch meeting in San Francisco." Dad clapped him on the back. Laughing too loudly at something he probably didn't understand, I stepped closer. My shoes were still damp, Clara. Mom turned her smile, dimming a notch. "You made it." Noah didn't even try to hide the once-over glance. His smirk landed like a slap. "You still deliver groceries like a loser." My throat tightened. The waiter pulled out a chair for me on the corner, farthest from Noah. I sat without responding. Just smiled, the kind that says, "I've heard worse, and you'll hear from me later." All in one breath. You know, Noah's company just closed another funding round. Dad offered, already cutting into the breadbasket. "Tech is the future, so is dinner," I murmured. No one heard me, or they pretended not to. Lisa, our cousin with a marketing certificate and a nose job, leaned in from across the table. You must get so much exercise, though. All that walking. Sure, I said. It keeps me moving. The rest of the evening blurred. Laughter I wasn't part of toast, I didn't raise a glass to. The only thing sharp was Noah's voice echoing in my head. Still a loser. If only he knew. What they didn't know, what they never bothered to ask, was that every late-night shift, every under-the-breath comment I swallowed, every $9 tip I saved in a jar under the sink, was part of something deliberate. 4 years ago, I came home after a double shift and found my elderly neighbor, Mrs. Elkins, crying in the hallway. She had fallen trying to carry groceries up the stairs. No one helped her, not the app she used, not her grown kids, just me. That night, SwiftDrop was born. Not in name, not yet, but in need. I spent the next year studying code, after shifts, watching startup panels while folding laundry, reading business books in stolen hours. I taught myself what I couldn't afford to outsource and saved enough to hire the best for what I couldn't fake. SwiftDrop didn't look like the other delivery apps. It didn't chase speed, it delivered care. Elderly clients got consistent handlers, not strangers. They received check-in calls, home organization help, even tech support. Premium clients got concierge-level grocery service with real humans, not algorithmic rotas. And I owned 82% of it. No investors, no debt, no glossy Instagram posts. My name didn't appear on the website or the pitch decks. Even our team bios used initials. The silence wasn't shame. It was strategy. Because I knew the moment my name got out, they'd look at me differently. Or worse, try to stake a claim in what they never built. But it wasn't just for them. It was for me. To prove that I could build something powerful without ever needing to shout. That I didn't need a Porsche or a brag-filled group chat. Just grit and the memory of all the doors that never opened. The morning after Noah's jab, I brewed coffee in the dark and turned on the TV Forbes Sunday Spotlight, the silent billionaire behind America's most human grocery app. There it was, my voice narrating the opening, and on screen a woman in a white blazer stepped out of a nondescript building in Austin heels. Steady smile, quiet eyes forward. They wouldn't recognize me yet. But soon they would. Noah woke up late as usual after one of his networking dinners and groaned at the avalanche of notifications lighting up his phone. Noah turned on the TV, now Clara, group chat, Jensen family news. 27 new messages. He rubbed his eyes, still half asleep, and thumbed through the chaos. Wait, is this you on Forbes? Why didn't you tell us what the hell is SwiftDrop? Noah stumbled to the living room, grabbed the remote, and flipped to the news channel just in time to hear the anchor's voice rise with excitement. And now meet the woman behind one of the fastest-growing tech platforms in the country. From delivery driver to dominant disruptor, Clara Jensen, founder and CEO of SwiftDrop. The screen cut to Clara, not in her worn hoodie, not hunched from carrying bags or soaked from the rain, but standing tall in a clean white blazer, eyes steady the downtown skyline, gleaming behind her. People think grocery workers are disposable, she said. Voice calm, but piercing. I built a company to prove otherwise. Noah froze. The coffee mug in his hand went slack, hitting the floor with a muted thud. Clara, his Clara. The one who couldn't afford dinner last Christmas. The one who showed up to family events with coupons and gas station flowers. The segment continued, shots of SwiftDrop delivery kits, interviews with clients, even footage of Clara in her tiny office scribbling on a whiteboard years ago. We started with 10 clients, her voiceover continued. Now we serve over $80,000 across 6 states. Noah sat down hard. Everything she said, everything she didn't say, every quiet smile, every ignored insult. It all suddenly made sense. She hadn't been failing, she'd been building. And now the whole world knew. The calls started before sunrise. Mom, Clara, sweetheart, I saw the news. Please call me Noah, X5. Missed, call. Lisa. Why didn't you say anything, Dad? We need to talk. This isn't how family works. I watched them all pile up on my screen. while sipping coffee on my terrace, the same one they didn't know existed. My phone buzzed like it was trying to apologize for them. I didn't answer. Not that day, not the next. Let them sit with it. Let them remember every smug comment, every backhanded compliment, every time they asked me if I needed help covering gas money. By Saturday, Mom texted again. Please come to dinner, just us. No pressure, I went, but not in the Civic. That night I eased into the driveway behind Noah's Honda, a car that once symbolized his big break. The Model X was quiet electric, but the headlights lit up the porch like a stage. I sat there for a second, hands on the wheel. This wasn't revenge. Not exactly, it was reckoning. When I stepped out, the porch light flipped on. I caught Noah through the window. Frozen mid-step, phone still in hand. Mom opened the door a beat later. Face pale, but lips curved into something like hope. Clara, she said softly. You came, I smiled just enough to be polite. Noah pushed the door wider, eyes flicking from the Tesla to my Blazer, the one he used to laugh at when I wore it to pretend meetings. Nice car, he muttered. It gets the job done, I said. Then I stepped inside, and this time no one told me where to sit. Same restaurant, same table, but this time everything was different and they felt it before I even walked in. The host saw me first, straightened his jacket, offered a polished smile. Welcome back, Miss Jensen. Your party is already seated, I nodded. No one else ever got a dress like that in my family. They were all there already, Mom fixing her hair nervously, Lisa checking her lipstick and her phone camera, Dad sipping wine like it might steady his pride. Noah stood when he saw me, a half smile, tugging his lips, unsure whether to act impressed or annoyed Clara. He said, didn't think you'd show. I said I would, I replied. Taking the seat at the center of the table, that was new too. The server appeared immediately, poured my water first, took my order first, called me Miss Jensen again. No one corrected him. I caught Noah's eyes flicking to my wristwatch, sleek silver, unmistakably limited edition. Not something you find on a clearance rack. His gaze lingered, then darted away like it burned. The table tried to pretend nothing had changed. Lisa launched into her recent campaign for a wellness brand. She couldn't pronounce Dad brought up real estate prices. Asked if I was still renting. I smiled. I own. That was all I said when the appetizers arrived. No one touched them. They were too busy stealing glances at me when they thought I wasn't looking. The blazer, the heels, the quiet confidence. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I just wasn't hiding anymore. So Noah finally asked, how long have you been running? All of that, eh? While I said long enough. He nodded like he understood, but we both knew he didn't. When the check came, it landed near Dad's elbow out of habit. But before he could reach, I slid my card across the table. It's covered, Clara. You don't have to, Mom started. I know, I said gently. I want to silence stretched. Not uncomfortable, just unfamiliar. They were recalibrating, learning how to look at me again. The girl they thought was invisible now carried weight in every word, every glance, every movement. And for the first time, no one asked what I did for work. They already knew. They just didn't know how to talk to me, now that I wasn't the one waiting to be spoken to. I didn't plan to bring anything, but as I watched them squirm through dinner, smiling too much, laughing too loudly, pretending they hadn't built a version of me that was convenient to ignore, I decided they deserved something real. After dessert, I reached into my bag and laid 3 envelopes on the table, cream-colored, unlabeled, before I go. I said I'd like you to open these. They hesitated. Lisa glanced at Mom, who glanced at Dad, who looked at me like I'd just dropped a grenade wrapped in ribbon. Mom opened hers first, slowly inside copies of 5 emails I'd sent over the years. One asking for help with rent during Dad's first stroke. One asking her to attend my first pitch night at a community center. One where I just said I missed her. Another asking if I could borrow her old sewing machine because I couldn't afford to buy uniforms for my first few employees. All unanswered. At the bottom, I had handwritten. You said I never reached out. I did. You just weren't listening. Her face crumpled like the pages in her hand. She folded them with shaking fingers and set them back down like they might catch fire. Dad opened his next one page. A scanned receipt of a hospital bill from 5 years ago, paid in full. His name at the top. My name nowhere on it. Underneath, a printout of the anonymous donor confirmation. He stared at it for a long time, brow furrowed like the math wouldn't add up. I thought the hospital, he mumbled. No, I said. It was me. His jaw clenched. He looked down again, suddenly too small for the chair he was in. Then Noah. He opened his and frowned immediately. It was an email from me. Sent under a pseudonym 3 years ago, pitching Swift Drop as an early-stage investment opportunity. His reply was highlighted. Appreciate the ambition, but grocery delivery isn't scalable. Better luck next time. Below that, I'd written in red ink that $50,000 would be worth $12 or $4 million today. Noah didn't say a word, just folded the page precisely. Like maybe if the crease was clean enough, the truth would hurt less. No one said anything for a long time. Not out of anger, out of clarity. Truth, when it finally lands, doesn't shout. It just sits there, heavy, undeniable. And so loud it drowns out everything else. No one spoke. The envelopes lay open on the table, their contents now. Just pieces of paper, quiet, undeniable, pieces of a truth they'd chosen not to see. Lisa reached for her wine glass with both hands, like she needed something to hold on to Mom. Stared at the tablecloth. Dad folded his hands together, tightly, knuckles pale. The room was filled with the kind of silence that only happens when everyone's shame is too loud to ignore. Finally, Noah leaned back in his chair. He let out a slow exhale and looked at me. Not over me, not through me, but at me for the first time in what felt like years. Why didn't you tell me? His voice wasn't angry, just confused, almost hurt. I looked at him, and for a moment I let the question sit. Let him feel the weight of it. Would you have listened? He didn't answer, because we both knew the truth. If I had told him I was building something, he would have called it a phase. If I'd said I had clients, he would have asked how many. If I mentioned revenue, he would have said, but is it sustainable? He didn't see me because he never tried. None of them did. You didn't just doubt me, I said quietly. You decided who I was without asking, and every time I showed up, you looked at me like I was proof of what not to be. Dad shifted in his seat. Lisa opened her mouth, then closed it again. It wasn't the silence that hurt, I continued. It was how easy it was for all of you to believe I had failed. We didn't mean to. Mom started. You didn't have to, I said. That's the point. I didn't need them to believe in the company. I needed them to believe in me. And they never did, not until Forbes said it was okay. That's what stung the most, not their doubt, their certainty. Their absolute effortless certainty that I would never be more than the girl delivering groceries in the rain. And now suddenly they wanted to understand. But the question came years too late, and my answer would never change. A week passed. The headlines slowed, but the ripple hadn't stopped. I still got emails from reporters, investors, old classmates pretending we were close, but I ignored most of them. Then Noah's name popped up on my screen. Noah Jensen. Hey, been thinking a lot, would love to talk. Maybe even collaborate. If you'd be open. I stared at it for a long moment. The old version of me would have taken hours to respond. Agonizing over tone, worrying about being too cold or too eager. But that Clara was gone. Now I didn't need to gloat. I didn't need revenge. I just needed honesty. I typed one line. Sure, let's start with listening, because that was where it had all broken. Not in the arguments, but in the quiet assumptions, in the way they had all decided who I was, and left no room for me to be anything more. But now the roles had shifted. I wasn't the girl they pitied, or the afterthought at dinner. I was the one they looked to. The one who had done the impossible without needing their approval. And I didn't want their awe. I wanted their respect. Not because I built a billion-dollar company, but because I did it while they weren't looking and still never once asked to be seen. The building looked smaller than I remembered. Same chipped paint, same buzzing light over the entryway. I stood across the street for a moment, letting the memories settle. Late nights, sore feet, cold dinners on the floor. A young woman in a delivery vest rushed up the steps, juggling bags and keys. She looked exactly like I had, tired, soaked, determined. I crossed the street. "Hey," I said gently, holding out a small wrapped book and a folded note. "For you." She looked confused. "Why? Because you don't have to stay here forever." I smiled. She took it, nodded, still unsure, but grateful. I turned and walked away, slipping my office keys back into my coat pocket. The building behind me held the version of myself they had all once seen, but now I carried the one they never could, and I was never going back.